Okay, so this is the part three of The Alchemist, the book, and this is where I ask so many questions about the part. But I cannot do so many, but I will do my best and trying to help you get the active English input so that you're not so bored right while learning English. So let's get started. So in part three, we know that what happened. He he met the Englishman, right? And the Englishman introduced us to the alchemy and the alchemist. He came all the way, right, from England. His mission was to become an a master alchemist. And he was intellectual, which means that he was a bookworm. He was a book reader, right? And back in the Middle Ages, right? So the alchemists were first chemists and magic and pure science, right, at the time. And they also had a mission, right? These alchemists, they also had a mission to create something called philosopher stone. So who did Santiago meet in the group? Santiago met the Englishman. Did Santiago meet the alchemist? No, no, no. Santiago did not meet the alchemist. Not yet. He would. He would meet. So did the Englishman introduce us to the alchemy and the alchemist? Yes, he did. He introduced us, right? So, which means that he let us know who the alchemist was and what the alchemy was, right? Why did the Englishman join the caravan group? He joined the caravan group because he really wanted to, he was stuck, right? He was stuck reading a lot of books and he could not find any solution. But then suddenly he heard the story about the alchemist, the master alchemist, right? El Fayum Oasis. This is where he lived in the book. It was in Egypt, or it is in Egypt. He wanted to learn from the guy. So what did the Englishman want to learn? How to create the philosopher's stone. Who could he learn from? Who could he learn this from? The master alchemist. Where did this master alchemist live? He lived in El Fayum Oasis. It is in Egypt. Who was stuck? Who couldn't find any books about the how to create the philosopher's stone? And was it Santiago? It was not Santiago. It was the Englishman, right? It was the Englishman who really wanted to find out how to really create, the philosopher's stone. Santiago and right the Englishman, they met, and in the beginning, right, they didn't trust each other because the Englishman was a stranger to him, and the reason that Santiago did not trust him was because he was reading books at the time, right? The time that Santiago met, the time that Englishman met was the time that Santiago was maybe looking at him and just observing, watching the nature, what was happening. But later, after they introduced, right, after they talked to each other and they became like friends, right? So they shared a lot in common. In the beginning, did they trust each other? No, no, they didn't trust each other. They didn't trust. Why didn't they trust each other? Well, the reason that they didn't trust each other was because Santiago thought that Englishman, right, is reading a lot of books and maybe he's not a good man, or I don't know, he's not a sociable person, whatever. But when the Englishman saw this Santiago, he also thought that, oh, Santiago is just as he's a simple guy, I guess. So How when did they share a lot, their beliefs and ideas and their missions and purposes in common? When? Well, after they talked to each other, right? After they talked to each, of course, they didn't trust each other, but then they started sharing their mission, their purposes, their life, and and this is when the Englishman told Santiago about the alchemist. So it's really great. So as they traveled, as the group started to leave, what were they doing? Well, the Englishman, he kept reading the books while traveling, doing the journey, and the Santiago kept watching the nature, what was happening. Then the Englishman, right, told Santiago, I think you should read books because you watch too much of nature, right? So Santiago started reading a lot of books again, but he got bored easily. The Englishman started, watching. He started watching the nature, what was happening, but then he got bored easily. So finally, they went back to their old way. Did the Englishman try to read books? He didn't have to try to read books. He read, he already read a lot of books. Who read a lot of books already? The Englishman. What about Santiago? Well, Santiago, because the Englishman told him, right, you should read some books, and Santiago, of course, he trying to read some books. He was the one trying to read books, right? Remember? But then what happened to him? Oh, he got bored easily, of course. Santiago got bored easily, and he went back to his old way of looking at the nature, observing and watching the nature. This is what we did again. What about the Englishman? Did he keep watching the nature? Oh, same thing happened to him, right? He did not want to watch the nature, observe the nature. Instead, he went back to his old way of reading books. And this is how they traveled. But they became closer during the journey because on the journey, they shared again, their purposes. We don't say papus, purposes and lives and missions and meanings, you know. So if you want to be asked so many questions like that, you can join one of my courses at Empower English. Now, this book is for intermediate learners, so that means that you have to join the intermediate course. And we also discuss a lot about this. Um, we read books together and we listen to books, and I also teach you some sentence structures and pronunciation, vocabulary from these books, and we also ask questions each other, and I will let you ask questions, and I will tell you how to make questions and step by step process to make questions correctly without thinking about grammar rules and tenses and prepositions, everything, But I will teach you in a natural. What I mean by the natural way, which means the way that we acquired our language, learn Burmese, the way the native speakers do. I haven't met the guys. I couldn't speak since in 2016, and I I joined the foreign company, and then in Rangoon, and I couldn't speak, and I memorized all the interview questions, and I passed. And the Singaporean boss, thought I could speak, but after I joined, when I started working, I had so many problems with native speaker, Americans, Canadians, British, Canadian, Australians too. Um, Finally, when I actually started working, and the boss, right? I didn't understand the boss, and the boss got upset with me and disappointed with me, of course, and I had to find a way. Okay, I before I joined and after I joined, for after 6 months after I joined, I was learning, studying grammar rules and all kinds of textbooks, and learning through a lot of English language language classes and I could not speak at all. I knew the facts and grammars, but actually when I tried to apply, none of them came out. So this is when I started to realize that something is wrong, you know. So found the American teacher, who is my teacher, of course, AJ Hoke. And before I found him, there was a Burmese teacher, Si Ayubumawan. He is the first one introducing me to him. And I tried. I paid some dollars and I joined. I could speak, and the methods was super interesting to me. So I could speak in 3 months. When I say in 3 months, that means that I had some knowledges about English. Okay, but then and I joined a few months and I could speak. Words. The method is right, so words were flowing out of my mouth, and this is how. And I kept learning for now. It's been like 10 years now. So I have been teaching English for and it's been eight years and a half. As an English language teacher, listening and speaking, of course, and of course, I can help you, but you have to join one of my courses. Okay, so Empower English on Facebook, and you can also on YouTube channel, right? Shwe Gabar, I guess. And you can also find me on TikTok, Shwe Gabar, of course. So I help you. I guess actually, there's one thing that I never nowadays. I never shared how I teach in my class, but there are some reason, of course. But I do teach. Okay, I teach people like you, like from 20 up to 50, 45. Some of them are doctors, engineers, of course. Some stuff or office stuff, or you know, I help them speak English in a natural way. So if you feel that you don't want to learn steady grammar rules anymore, or don't want to do any kind of textbook learning, well, I'm here to help. I'm happy to help. Okay, so good luck with your learning. Bye for now.